Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Over the last few months, the governor has repeatedly asked us to meet this moment. And the people of California certainly have, making unthinkable sacrifices, enduring immeasurable hardships. But this budget, I fear, is missing the moment entirely. The order of the day is economic recovery and fiscal sustainability, yet somehow we're eluding both. As to the economy, you'd think that after shutting it down for months, after shutting small businesses down for months, we'd do everything we conceivably could to help them. And indeed, the governor did say we're going to do everything we can to keep small businesses afloat. Yet this budget does the opposite. Regulations are ratcheted up, not relieved. Taxes are raised, not cut. Liability is expanded, not limited. AB 5 is reinforced, not repealed. We have 5.3 million unemployed Californians. That's more than the entire population of 28 states. More than ever, we need a budget that promotes work and supports workers. Yet every proposal that I and several of my colleagues offered to do this evaporated into thin air. Net operating loss carrybacks for small businesses, tax exemptions for PPE loans, flexible work arrangements, historic regulatory relief, liability protections, taming the menace of PAGA. These common sense ideas, which could do so much good for so many people at a time of such peril, were not included in the budget and didn't even receive a forum for public input or thoughtful consideration. The second imperative we face concerns the state's finances. Grappling with what could be a $54 billion deficit, a good place to start would have been the $100 billion we've added to the budget over the last decade. Strikingly, all of this added money has produced little discernible social benefit. Despite $64 billion in additional Medi-Cal spending, researchers at the National Bureau of Economic Research did not detect significant improvements in patient health. After a $39 billion increase in education spending, the National Assessment of Educational Progress found that California's 8th grade math and reading scores continue to decline. With $7 billion more spending on social services, the Census Bureau reports California continues to have the highest level of poverty in the nation. A $3 billion rise in correctional spending has accompanied a 10,000-person decline in the inmate population. And in just the last 2 years, we've spent $2.7 billion more on homelessness, only to see this worst in the nation tragedy get much worse. We talk a lot about how much money we're spending. We talk very little about the value of that spending, whether it's actually reaching the Californians who need it, rather than just propping up powerful interests in different sectors. And that distinction between spending money and spending money wisely really matters. It's not a wonkish matter for budget hawks. It really matters on a human level. It's the difference between a small business remaining the heart of a community or closing its doors permanently, between a young person going off to college or dropping out of school, between a person experiencing homelessness, turning their life around, or dying on our streets. That is the gravity of the budget process. And this year, more than ever, it should have pulled us strongly towards smart and compassionate choices. But I will close with a word of encouragement. Like my colleague from Big Bear, I was very glad to see the legislature taking the governor to task in important ways on his attempts to amass greater authority in the executive branch at our expense. And I would encourage legislative leadership in the negotiations that lie ahead to hold fast to that position and to heed the advice of our legislative analysts to zealously guard the legislature's constitutional authority.